You finally get tired of the road, tired of the hotels, tired of the 712 lifestyle, and tired of missing everything back home. So you start looking for a job closer to the house, and you actually find one. Good company, good benefits, 20 minutes from your front door. Then you look at the paycheck, and that's when it hits you. You can afford to work 800 miles away from home, but you cannot afford to work in your own hometown. And that is the part nobody talks about. What is going on, my people? Welcome to 712s. My name is Andy. I come from the safety side of some of the biggest industrial jobs in America, and I have watched a lot of good men get stuck in exactly this spot. If that is your world, please subscribe. In the Overtime Trap video, I talked about how guys build a whole lifestyle around overtime. And this is the other side of that. What happens when you finally want to stop? What happens when the job back home actually sounds better, but the numbers do not add up? And that is when you find out how expensive going home really is. Going home feels like a pay cut. Let us say you're making real money on the road, 7-12 schedule, 60, 70 hours a week, per diem 7 days. You're making $2,500 to $5,000 a week, on a good project. And after a few years, that is just what your life is built on, the overtime. Then you look at the hometown job, 40 hours, no per diem, a check that looks completely different at the end of the week. The hourly rate might not even be bad, but now you're not comparing a bad job to a good job. You're comparing two different lives. One that gives you money, and the other one gives you time. And that is where the decision gets hard. Maybe that hometown job pays $90,000 a year, maybe $100,000. For most people, that is really good money. But if you have been clearing $150,000, maybe $200,000 with overtime and per diem, $100,000 starts to feel like you're going backwards, even when your quality of life will probably get better. And that is the part nobody wants you about. You get used to being the high earner. You get used to those deposits, and taking less money starts to feel like a failure, even when the trade-off is worth it. Your bills did not stay the same. And here's the real problem. After years of making traveling money, your life costs more than it used to be. The house is bigger, your truck payment is higher, your insurance went up, responsibilities stacked up, and none of those bills care that you are tired. They do not care that you miss home, and they do not care that you want your weekends back. They just know what is due next month. So now you're trying to cover a traveling worker's bill with the hometown paycheck. And that is a mismatch. And this is where the guy gets stuck. One more project, one more shutdown, one more data center. I will stack some money, and then I'm done. But another project starts, another year goes by, and somehow they're still saying the same thing. Because the problem is not the project. The problem is your life still needs the road money to run. Now, here's the other side. The money's still good, but staying on the road has a cost too. You miss birthdays, you miss the weekends with your family, you miss the stuff that does not get to do over. Your kids get older. Your wife gets used to running everything without you. And eventually, you stop asking, how much can I make? You start asking, how much of my life am I giving up to make it? That question gets heavier every year you're out there, because money can be replaced, time cannot. So now staying costs you time. Going home costs you money. There's no painless option. That is why some guys are not chasing overtime anymore. They are protecting a life that requires overtime. Those are two different things. Let me tell you a story about a guy that I work with. I work with a guy who was making really good money. And when the money went up, everything else went up with it. Bigger house, newer cars, newer toys. And at home, a trip to the store almost every day. Nothing crazy, just normal spending for people who stop having to think about it. Then one day, he had enough. The job was eating him alive, so he quit. And he called his wife to tell her. She did not ask why. She did not ask if he was okay. All she said was, you better find another job fast. And I do not think she was being cold. I think that it was just what the house had turned into. He had been gone so long that he was not really dad anymore. He was the money. Everybody got home, got used to him not being there, as long as everything they wanted kept showing up. So he found another job back on the road. And to this day, he talks about is going back home. But deep down, he knows he cannot. Sometimes guys say, I cannot quit. What they really mean is, I cannot afford the income to drop. And that is important. Because once you know the real problem is, you can actually start fixing it. Maybe that means paying off the truck. Maybe it means cutting up the debt down. Maybe it means building a cushion before you even think about leaving. Because if you wait until you are completely burned out to start fixing the money side, you waited too long. And if you know what you want off the road eventually, start before you're desperate. Use the overtime now to make overtime less necessary later. That is the whole game. Not making the biggest check forever. Building enough margin that one day you can take the smaller check and still be okay. Maybe you make less money, but you sleep in your own bed. You eat dinner with your family and you get your weekends back. And maybe the truck is not as new, but your life actually belongs to you again. And that is why blue collar workers have to be careful with how we measure success. 180,000 a year sounds impressive, but if you cannot take a $100,000 job because your life falls apart financially, how much freedom did that income actually buy you? That is the question. So if you're on the road right now making good money, do not just ask how much you can make. Ask yourself, what would it take for me to go home? What bills needs to disappear? And how much do I need in savings? What would I have to change so a normal paycheck could support your life? Because one day you may be ready to be done with the road. And when the day comes, you do not want the paycheck deciding for you. You want options. You want to be able to look at the next project and say, no, I am going home. Make sure you subscribe to 712. I will see you on the next one.